Welcome to the Canadiens Connection podcast here on Rocket Sports Radio, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained. My name is Amy Johnson. I'm going to be your host for today's show. That's for episode 309 of the Canadiens Connection podcast. Welcome. Glad you're here with us. We've got a great show coming up for you today. And, of course, I am pleased to be joined in the studio by my co-host, who happens to be the founder and president of Rocket Sports. His name is Mr. Rick Stevens. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Welcome back to the show, and welcome to the new studio. This is our first podcast in the brand new studio.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's not bad. We got boxes all over the place and nothing yet on the walls. We'll change that soon. We got a couple weeks before training camp begins.
That's right.
But yeah, we're in our new digs, and this is pretty special. We're going to have Michael and Nathan join the show in the second segment. So this
full house today.
Absolutely, full house in the new studio, and we're excited to bring all the news to our listeners.
That's right. We are going to get you caught up on the latest news surrounding the Canadiens, both current and former Canadiens. I should say. We've got some news from around the NHL. We've got some prospect updates to talk about. And then in the second segment, yes, Michael and Nathan are going to come into the studio. You might recall that a couple of weeks ago, they reviewed their top villains who have played against the Habs over the last 20 years. If you missed that show, be sure to head over to CanadiensConnection.fm. Just go back a couple of episodes and check that out. Well, this week they are back with their top heroes of the Habs from the last 2 decades. And that's going to be a lot of fun coming up in the second segment. And we're already antsy to see what our listeners and viewers think of not only Michael and Nathan's list, but what they would vote for there as well.
I've got a few in mind.
I bet you do. And in the final segment, of course, we're going to get you caught up in things you might have missed this past week, give you some general news about the Rocket Sports, and give you our Canadiens Connection question of the week for you to answer. And of course, we've got some things to read, responses to last week's question of the week, some comments and so forth from all of you out there who have written into us since last Saturday. And we're going to read some of those out. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Don't forget, if you would like to interact with us, we encourage you to do so. It's an interactive podcast. Not only might you hear your response on an upcoming episode, but it's just a great way to be in touch with our listeners and viewers. The best way for you to do that, sure, you can leave a comment on the YouTube comment section if you're watching there. Sure, you can @ us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, but the most direct way to do it is just to send us a text, and you can do that anytime on the Rocket Sports text line. That's 585-3-ROCKET. Just send us a text anytime, 585-3-ROCKET. If you do want to follow us on social media, follow @ Habs Connection on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I did mention our website, CanadiensConnection.fm, where you'll find our complete archive of all 308 previous episodes of the Canadiens Connection podcast. So,
yes,
should first off start off by saying happy birthday to Carey Price.
37 years old on Friday, so happy birthday.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, and he had a nice, he got all kinds of people, fans reaching out to him on social media, and he left a response, a video response on social media. That was really quite nice and genuine, so you might want to check that out.
Happy birthday, Carey Price. I finally had a chance to see that pictorial spread that he and Angela had of their Kelowna house in, is it House and Home?
Canadian
House and Home.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. Just really, really beautiful what they've done. So I'm
sure his man cave or man garage or whatever they're calling it.
Man barn. Like, my goodness.
Better. Yeah.
I'm going to need I've said that I want a she shed. Well, I think I'll upgrading that to a she barn.
There you go.
I think so. The Canadiens, I know everyone has been antsy ever since the Canadiens announced that they were putting out an NHL draft documentary later this summer. Well, it's just about to be released, and the Canadiens, in anticipation of that this past week, have started in dribs and drabs putting out some photos and still frames from that documentary, kind of to whet everyone's appetite and get everyone buzzing about it.
They're piquing our interest, and as you might expect, there are the photos that they released. There's a lot of Demidov, him with a firm handshake with Le Cavalier, and there's Michael Hage, and there's Atos Koivu, and all of them you might expect will be featured in the behind the scenes, or at least as much of behind the scenes as the Canadiens want you to see in the draft documentary that we expect should be out this upcoming week.
It's festival season, of course. Actually, pretty late into festival season. Festival season is going to start winding down soon. But a highlight in Montreal, particularly for Habs players, always seems to be Lasso Montreal. You remember last year, Caden Gooley and Juraj Slafkovsky were featured prominently by attending Lasso Montreal. Well, this year, there was quite the motley crew of Habs players and prospects who got together to attend the festival, and there was a really great picture that they put out on social media about it.
Yeah, it was, I guess, from the Friday night. The Lasso Montreal extends over the weekend, and it included Jakob Dobish, Riley Kidney, Logan Mailloux, and Joshua Waugh. Great photo, and glad to see the guys enjoying themselves, enjoying the festival season in Montreal. Just where's the cowboy gear, guys? Where's the hats?
I know.
Yeah, we want to. You better up your game.
That's right.
We need Michael Pezzetta maybe to and Arbor Jacki to give them some tips.
So. I think so. Definitely. Well, be sure. It's August, folks. It's the light news of the month, but even fun stuff like that is always nice to hear. Of just what's happening with Habs players and prospects over the summer. If you want to follow all of what's happening with the Habs in the offseason and through the regular season, be sure you're following us on X at Rocket Sports. That's where you want to go, at Rocket Sports. That's where we'll be tweeting from, as we always have been. And of course, we'll have exclusive content at InsideTheCanadiens.com. All right. In terms of news related to the Canadiens, TVA Sport reporting this week that Canadiens pro scout Reed Simpson has left the team to accept a more senior position with another NHL team. So mysterious.
It is. And in the story from TVA Sport, the Montreal Canadiens have confirmed that Reed Simpson has left the organization. Reed Simpson was, as you said, a pro scout. What's the difference between a pro and amateur? Amateur scouts are the guys who scout the prospects for the draft. Pro scouts scout the pros, whether that be in the AHL, the ECHL, NHL, for the team that may comprise, a trade, trying to acquire a player. So Reed Simpson had been with the organization since the 2016-17 season. His focus was on the Western Conference. And it says that in the story that he's left to accept a more senior position elsewhere with another NHL team. That NHL team is unnamed at this time. I guess the announcement will come out sometime, maybe this week, from that team that they have indeed hired Reed Simpson in some sort of more senior position. So that leaves an opening, that leaves a gap for the Montreal Canadiens scouting staff, which they'll have to fill. Right now on the pro scouting side, you have Eric Crawford, who's the head of pro scouting for the Canadiens. Teddy Purcell, Gordon Clark, Neil Little, and our dear friend Vincent Riondo.
Interesting to see who they get to fill that position. Believe it or not, it's already time for fantasy hockey talk to start ramping up. And ESPN has put out in their fantasy hockey division, they've released their points predictions for the upcoming season for NHL players in preparation for fantasy hockey draft planning. And there are 9 or 10 Canadians kind of, well, I should say the top Canadians. There's about 9 or 10 that have some decently significant points projections behind them. Starting with Nick Suzuki.
Starting with Nick Suzuki, they're projecting a slight increase in points for Nick Suzuki from last year's season. Their projection is 36 goals, 47 assists for 83 points. That's up from his 77 last season. They have Yuri Slafkovsky at 63 points, up from 50. Cole Caufield at 65, up from 61. His goal production drops by 1, interestingly enough, to 27 goals from 28. I know that there's fans out there that expect him, now that he's had a year with another year of rehabbing that shoulder, expecting 35, 40 goals. We'll see. Mike Matheson at 53 points. Alex Newhook at 44, Brendan Gallagher at 38, 30 points for Josh Anderson, which last year was a tough season for Josh Anderson, just 20 points. They have a marginal increase to 30 points. The real curious one here is they're projecting Caden Gooley at 24 points, but we'll end on Kirby Dach. You have Kirby Dach projected at 30 points, and you might say, oh, do they think that he's going to be out a significant time with injury? Well, they have him projected at playing 67 games, but in those 67 games, just 11 goals and 19 assists for 30 points. So not expecting much, I think. Canadiens fans are expecting much more from a full season of Kirby Dach. And
who did Kirby Dach tick off at ESPN Fantasy Hockey?
Apparently, they're not high on Kirby Dach. So we'll see how that ends up as the season goes along.
Well, I'll certainly be taking all of those into consideration when it comes to our Rocket Sports Fantasy Hockey Draft. But I should say, if any of you out there, viewers, listeners, all of you, if you're interested in playing fantasy hockey or fantasy football on the Yahoo platform with plenty of us here at Rocket Sports, we have our own Rocket Sports Media fantasy football and fantasy hockey leagues. And now is the time to let us know if you'd like to join any of those leagues for this upcoming NFL or NHL season. So send us a message, whether it's a text on the Rocket Sports text line, 5853-ROCKET. Tell us your name, your email address, and if you want to play football or hockey. Do the same thing, hello@rocketsportsmedia.com if you want to send an email, or even just send us an @ or a DM on social media and just let us know, particularly if it's football, let us know as soon as possible so that we can get our commish, Brian, right on things to get you placed into one of our 3 fantasy football leagues that we've got, which will be drafting within the next couple of weeks. So very exciting time.
And a stick tap to BZ, Brian, right. Our commissioner, who puts this all together, both all of the football leagues, the fantasy football leagues, and the hockey leagues. And let me just warn you that if you do join one of our leagues, these folks we play with are pretty competitive. You wouldn't believe how competitive Patrick Williams, the AHL guru, can be in football. Yeah. Or a Mike Raschel in hockey. So come join us if you're serious about fantasy sports. We'd be glad to have you.
Absolutely. Moving on, Serge Savard at his annual golf tournament this past week brought together 14 members of the Canadiens who participated in the 4 Stanley Cup winning teams between 1975 and 1979. That's a pretty special thing to bring that alumni group back together for the guys who were there for those 4 Stanley Cups in that run.
It is. We remember last year, and Serge Savard, when he's putting together this golf tournament, it happens at Le Mirage Golf Club. They raise money for student athletes at the University of Sherbrooke. And last year's theme was the 30th anniversary from the 1993 Stanley Cup group. This year, the theme was, as you said, the players who were able to attend, who were part of that 4 Stanley Cup almost dynasty between 1975 and 79. What I found remarkable was that he even brought Scotty Bowman, 90-year-old head coach, former head coach of the Canadiens. Scotty Bowman was there, and they had a great picture set up on the stairs so you could see all 14 members. Rick Chartrand came all the way from Australia. Serge Savard said he kind of lost track with him, but found him and encouraged him to come. Doug Risebrough, who hasn't attended these kinds of things in the past, got him out there. The full list reads like a who's who of Habs legends. Go ahead, read off some of the...
well, of course, you said Scotty Bowman was there, Ken Dryden, Serge Savard, Yvan Cournoyer, Guy Lapointe, Larry Robinson, Doug Jarvis, Bob Gainey, Steve Shutt, Jacques Lemaire, Mario Tremblay, Rick Chartrand, Yvan Lambert, and Doug Risebrough. Like, what a group.
And I should say, Guy Lapointe, who is ill at this time, he was there. He was there for the picture. He had he left early. I remember meeting Guy Lapointe in Dallas for the draft. After the draft, we're at a bar restaurant and with our group of draft attendees, and I saw Guy and went over and asked him to join us for a few minutes, and he was happy to do so and took pictures with everybody at our table. He was happy to meet all the Canadiens fans, and anyway, it was absolutely incredible and wonderful by Serge Savard for putting together all of this group and bringing them all together. And you mentioned Ken Dryden being there, and at the beginning of the show I said there's nothing on the walls yet in here, but in a box somewhere. Is the limited edition print of the Ken Dryden pretzel mask that the original is painted by famed Canadian artist Brandy Satterley. That's going to go up on the wall. And there's also a team photo of the 1976-77 Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup winning team that was signed by Ken Dryden. It's in a box. That's going to go up on the wall.
Wow.
But Ken Dryden he had a moment to speak to the media and was asked that question that everybody seems to be talking about at this time, and it is...
it was asked about whether or not Carey Price's number 31 should be retired, and he said it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, of course.
That absolutely the number 31 jersey should be retired and hoisted high up in the Bell Center, and I couldn't agree with Ken Dryden more.
Yeah, he said he's not going to talk too much about it because it's somebody else's decision to make, but he basically said it's pretty obvious. He's been one of the greatest players in certainly Canadiens history, but also he's been a great one of the great goalies in the NHL of all time. So he has the support, I think, of the majority of fans and majority of people who know anything about hockey, and certainly Ken Dryden.
Absolutely. All right, switching gears from the alums to the future of the Canadiens, I think it's time to check in on the Habs prospect report.
It's time for the Rocket Report. The Rocket Sports Media Team is your premier source for information about the Laval Rocket, the AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, as well as Habs prospects playing in the CHL, NCAA, and leagues around the world. Bookmark thn.com/Montreal to follow our comprehensive coverage of Canadiens prospects.
Of course, you'll know if you are a frequent listener that every week we like to highlight a particular Montreal Canadiens prospect. This week, that prospect is Oliver Kapanen, who is a Timrå IK forward in the SHL. And Rick, he played his first preseason game on Thursday.
He did. And you're saying, wait a minute, Timrå, that doesn't sound right for Oliver Kapanen. Well, then that means you've been paying attention because, yes, the last couple of seasons, he's been in the Liga in Finland and playing for Kalpa, but made the switch this season to the SHL, probably give him a whole nother level, a little bit higher experience, and wonderful for him. He started that game, the first preseason game on Thursday, centering the top line, wearing number 89. Dahlin and Hollander on his wing, and his team, Timrå, won that game, their first preseason game, 3-1. And in the game, Oliver Kapanen had 1 assist. So Oliver Kapanen, big things expected of him. And you'll remember he was drafted a second-round pick in 2021 by the Canadiens.
Mm-hmm. Someone drafted a little bit more recently, Ivan Demidov. Have another update. Mm-hmm. Have weekly update on, it seems, on him. Because this week now he's been loaned to the U23 national team in Russia. He's going to captain that team for the Puchkov tournament that runs from August 22nd to 29th.
Yeah, the Nikolai Puchkov tournament features teams. His own, Demidov's own team, SKA, will be in the team. AK Bars, the Sochi team, the Kunlun Red Star team, and this under 23 team that Demidov will captain. And it may seem odd to folks that don't follow, but that he's going to be playing against players that he's going to be part of in the KHL, and this is an annual preseason event, but this is a good opportunity for him because he'll have all kinds of playing time and experience in the tournament. As an 18-year-old, he's probably considered, an extra a 13th forward with SKA St. Petersburg, so he'll be featured a little bit more. He was featured. Saturday, he played a game, his first inter-squad scrimmage game with SKA, and believe he got a goal. He was wearing number 91 in that game, and as you said, later this week will be part of the tournament.
While we're still on Ivan Demidov, very beloved former Russian Canadiens player Andrei Markov gave an interview this week to Match TV and mentioned that he has spoken to young Demidov to offer him some advice. Yeah,
they've been in contact, and first Andrei Markov said he was very happy that a Russian player was selected by the best organization in the NHL, in his opinion. And he said that, Demidov will have a chance once he gets to Montreal, but kind of cautioned him about the pressure that he's going to have to deal with in Montreal, and that if he deals with it successfully, if he succeeds, he's going to be embraced by the Montreal fan base. And Markov told Demidov, these will be the best moments of your life. That expectations are going to be high because you're a first round pick. There's a lot of work to do to establish, himself. But if he works hard, he's going to have a bright future. So words of wisdom there from Andrei Markov for the Canadiens' young draft pick.
Still want him to get signed back to the Canadiens to round out his 1,000 games.
10 games, yeah. Play 10.
Could we just do that? Could we just get that done?
Or, there's an assistant coaching position maybe that...
Well, there's that too. Maybe he could split the season, play 10 games, and then coach the rest.
Ah, there you go.
Speaking of Canadiens prospects, Elite Prospects has ranked the NHL's top 100 affiliated prospects ahead of this upcoming season, and the Habs have 7 prospects on that list.
They do. Elite Prospects. I like Elite Prospects. They do a great job, and our dear friend Russ Cohn, who is part of our pre-draft coverage, is a scout for Elite Prospects. Now, the folks that put out this article ranking the NHL's top 100 affiliated prospects were Mitch Brown, David St. Louis, and J.D. Burke. Now, the thing to note with any of these lists when we're talking about prospects is how are they defined? And sometimes there's a pretty complicated complicated set of criteria. In this case, it's not. They've just, if a player is still eligible for the Calder Trophy, the NHL's best rookie, then he qualifies for this list. So that's going to mean that a number of players have already graduated. You're not going to see Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli, Lil Carlson, Logan Cooley. Those guys have all graduated from this list. But otherwise, it's pretty simple criteria to put this all together.
Absolutely. And so the Habs have 7 of the
They
100?
have 7. That's right. Let's start with the number 1 overall, and they have Macklin Celebrini. That shouldn't be a surprise, taking number 1 overall at the June draft. Number 2, we have Matvei Michkov at number 2, which folks are always going to keep an eye on Michkov and his progression, given that the Canadiens passed on him. Number 3, we find the first Montreal Canadien, and that's the player that we've just been talking about, and that is Ivan Demidov. Skip down. Number 4 is Caden Lindstrom, Ryan Leonard at 5, Lev Shunov at 6, Cutter Gauthier. We're going to hear from Cutter Gauthier in a little bit. At number 7, Zane Parekh at 8, Tej Ginla 9, Will Smith 10, Zeev Buyam at 11, Simashev at 12. Number 13, I'm not going to go through all 100 here, but at number 13, we find the next Canadian. That's David Reinbacher. Bumped down to number 27, Lane Hudson. And that's all for the top 50. The Canadiens have 3 in the top 50, Demidov, Reinbacher, and Hudson. In the last half, 50 to 100, Joshua Waugh makes it in at 52, Michael Hage at number 72, Owen Beck at 76, and Logan Mailloux at number 95. So not a bad list.
No.
7 members of the 7 prospects of the Canadiens organization make that list. And do they need a couple more? I hear the people who say the rebuild's over. I think they could stand to add a couple of prospects in there. But nicely done by the folks at Elite Prospects.
Very nice. We do have a bit of Trois-Rivières Lions news. The ECHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, they have announced that Luc-Olivier Blaine has been hired as an assistant coach. Our Chris G kind of expanded on that news on Twitter by saying that this will be Blaine's first coaching job in professional hockey. He formerly was a forward. The Longueuil native played 174 matches in the ECHL with the Brampton Beast over 3 seasons, 2 AHL games with the St. John's Ice Caps and 12 games with the Rocket. And I absolutely remember covering Luc-Olivier Blaine for his short AHL stint, but also some of the time that he was playing for Brampton in the ECHL as well. In fact, when he got that call up to St. John's to play a couple of games with the Ice Caps, Rick, it was during the time that you and I were traveling an awful lot to cover away games for St. John's and then, of course, Laval eventually. So we were there, and I believe it was on the road when Luc-Olivier Blaine got his first that AHL call up. And so as we normally do, I was rinks ice side at the glass at practice or whatever, taking still photographs for our publication. And I would do the same during games as well, take game photos. And Luc-Olivier Blaine just always stuck out to me because he skated over or came over after off ice practice or whatever, stretching and whatnot, and tracked us down, introduced himself to specifically ask if we would mind emailing him any photos that we had taken of him during practice or during the game in the St. John's uniform, because he wanted to share them with his family because he was just so excited to be called up to the AHL.
Yeah, very nice. A nice guy, very personable, very polite. Said, do you mind?
And here's my email address. Could you please send them to me?
Yeah, I mean, here's a guy who never drafted, played in Chicoutimi in the Q, and went on to play university hockey, the University of Ottawa, played a time in France, and then got an opportunity. He played a fair bit with the Brampton Beasts, then the affiliate of the ECHL affiliate of the Canadiens, and finally got an AHL opportunity, and that was his moment. That was his hockey moment, and he wanted us to capture that for him, and the ability to share it with his family. So, really nice that the Trois-Rivières Lions are going to give him this opportunity, we'll see how he does, and keep an eye on him. And Chris through the year will give you updates, and we'll pass them on about the Trois-Rivières Lions, and included in that will be updates. I'm sure we'll be hearing from Luc-Olivier Blaine.
I'm sure we will. Don't forget, you can find all of our content about Canadiens prospects on our Rocket Sports YouTube channel, and you can find that by just going to InsideTheCanadiens.com. A few moments ago, Rick mentioned Cutter Gauthier, and he actually makes our Quotes of the Week segment this week because, well, he was name dropping a little bit this week. He was doing a video interview with Everything College Hockey, talking about summer training with NHL players. He, like many former USA Hockey players, returned to Plymouth, Michigan every summer to train at USA Hockey's arena in Plymouth and use their training facilities. And here is what Cutter Gauthier said about summer training with Cole Caufield.
Yeah, so this is it. This is a little messy right now because all the guys, but they made a couple renovations. The USA used to be on the floor, so they moved it up top and then put all the decals around the sides. There's my stall there, and
looks clean.
It's crazy, all the guys that come back here and train, it's a pretty special place. And you got guys like Zach Werenski, Josh Norris, DeBrincat, Tyler Mock, Caufield, Sanderson, Turks, and a lot of more guys that are in here. The Hughes has come out here too, and then you got Larkin too, so it's pretty cool, like talking to Larkin and DeBrincat and I have built a good relationship so far this summer. This is his first year working out here, and he's such a cool dude. Like, he looks pretty grumpy sometimes, but he's super good dude. And Jake Sanderson and I have gotten really close over the last couple of years, and he's such a funny dude. He's a character. And then obviously I don't know how well you know Cole, but Cole's just a treat to be around. He's always juicing up the mood, and
the media loves him.
Yeah, loves him. So he's great to be with in the gym. He's always yelling names, and
that was
that sounds like Cole.
Yeah, it sounds like Cole. And you think of him during the year with the Montreal Canadiens and his impact there, but it doesn't really matter where Cole Caufield goes. He's He's the life of the locker room and the bench and even in off season in summer training, he brings this energy. And really a fascinating quote there by Cutter Gauthier. Obviously, was name dropping. That's quite a who's
quite
who
a list, yeah.
List that he was laying down there, including Cole Caufield, and that's such a great experience for Cole, for all of them to be able to feed off each other and get tips from them as they train over the summer. I thought it was an important quote to bring to you this week.
Absolutely. Moving on to some hockey news and notes. Former Canadiens player Steve Bégin announced on Thursday that he has elected to declare personal bankruptcy. Some troubling news for a former Habs player.
Yeah, sad news. Sometimes when you make a lot of money in a short period of time, sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you listen to the wrong people. Steve invested heavily in a civil engineering company since 2013, and that company has gone bankrupt. And so Steve Bégin was a pretty popular Montreal Canadian, played for the Canadiens between 2003 to 2009. He's had to declare personal bankruptcy and was rather open about it, announced this on social media. So that perhaps he can learn from it and that others can learn as well.
Absolutely. Kind of staying on the financial news, Sportico released their valuations of North American sports franchises, including all the big ones, of course, NFL, MLB, NHL, the NBA, and the MLS. And while it should come to no surprise that it takes a little while to get down the list before you even start getting NHL teams, because the NFL heavily dominates the top 40.
Yeah.
In this list of 153 valuations. It should probably also not come to anyone's surprise that the Canadiens are one of only 3 NHL franchises valued over $2 billion.
Wow. That's incredible. And even at that, they're well down the list, which is Montreal Canadiens coming in. Their valuation, their Sportico valuation, we know Forbes does this and others, but according to Sportico, their valuation is $2.27 billion. Yes, that's with a B, dollars, and that places them 79th on the list of North American pro sports franchises. Dallas Cowboys on top at $10.32 billion. Golden State Warriors in the NBA at $8.28 in second, and the New York Yankees, the MLB, at 7.9. And you go all the way down to CF Montreal, the soccer franchise, at 153rd on this list.
Last.
Valued at $440 million. But the amount of money is absolutely staggering, and the Canadiens are in pretty special company.
They are. There's only 2, as I've said, there's only 2 other franchises in the NHL who are valued above $2 billion, and they both come in above Montreal. You said Montreal was at 79. At 75th is the New York Rangers, valued at $2.45 billion, and just a couple spots ahead of them at number 73, the highest valued NHL franchise according to Sportico, the Toronto Maple Leafs at $2.65 billion. Interesting stuff. Player safety. Everybody loves when we hear from DOPS during the year, the NHL's Department of Player Safety. Well, there's going to be a new voice, part of that crew. Former Anaheim Ducks captain Ryan Getzlaf has joined DOPS for this coming season. That's an interesting choice.
It is. George Peros has gotten a fair bit of criticism for his, not only him, but he and his office, inconsistency in the decisions, the player safety decisions, the suspension, the fines, and whatnot. We'll see. I liked Ryan Getzlaf. We'll see if he can be a voice of moderation and bring a new eye to player safety. And I applaud this move.
Let's see if you applaud this next move as well. It involves those same Toronto Maple Leafs. John Tavares, going to ask you to hand in your C, sir, because there's a new captain in town. The Toronto Maple Leafs finally naming Austin Matthews their 26th captain, displacing John Tavares. Word is, Rick, that Tavares is fully supportive of this move.
Well, the one thing I'll say, and I don't make it my business to compliment the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the one thing I thought they rolled this out well. It's got to be awkward for Brad Treliving to come in, and it's pretty obvious. You have the rise and the maturation of Austin Matthews, and it's his team. It's his team. And in a way, you have John Tavares, who's been the captain of the Leafs since 2019, and his game on the decline. But apparently Tavares and Treliving talked it over over the summer. And, well, I guess it started with the end of season meetings, and they for the betterment of the team, they decided together with maybe Treliving pushing things a little, that it would be best for Tavares to take a step back from the captaincy, turn that over to Matthews. But the way they did it, they included everybody. They didn't just strip Tavares of the C. They included him in the ceremonies. His family was there. They made a big deal about it, as you might expect in Toronto. And in that ceremony, Tavares spoke and said he was quite supportive of Austin Matthews becoming the 26th captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm. Now, I said towards the top of the show, I said it's August. It's like the slowest month of the year for hockey news, right? So of course it's perfect time of year for someone to get offer sheeted. Oh wait, two people. In fact, this is, talk about spicy. Doug Armstrong not holding back. On Tuesday, St. Louis Blues GM Doug Armstrong announced that the Blues tendered offer sheets to not one, but two Edmonton Oilers players, defenseman Philip Broberg and forward Dylan Holloway. And let's see, that was Tuesday. Clock is tick-tocking on the time Edmonton has left to respond.
This puts the Edmonton Oilers in a corner and new GM, Stan Bowman in a bit of a corner, in a box. They were already dealing with cap issues, and this makes that a whole lot worse for them. And apparently Stan Bowman's been on the phone and trying to unload his, but he's dealing from a position of weakness, obviously. Mm-hmm. And to have two of his young players targeted by Doug Armstrong, it makes it really tough. Philip Broberg, the 23-year-old defenseman, he's going to have a lot of value, and they've the salary that they've signed Broberg to is reflective of that. Holloway, 22 years old. Holloway played in Wisconsin, played with Cole Caufield, has not been utilized and hasn't realized his potential yet, but there's plans for him to do that. So it's going to be really interesting to see in the next couple of days whether the Oilers are able to keep both of these young players. I guess the Oilers are in a different stage, though, than the Montreal Canadiens, let's say. The Oilers are in a win now. So, investing a lot in young prospects who may have a limited role or may not have a bigger role for a period of time is it's going to be dicey for them. And you know, a lot of those veterans that they have came in and took team-friendly deals so that they could all be together and they could push to win a cup. And of course, making the Stanley Cup final this past year. So, you know, how are they going to look at a Broberg who suddenly jumps up and is making, you know, $4.6 million? It's going to be an odd dynamic. Are they going to be able to keep both? Will they sacrifice Broberg and keep Holloway? We're going to find out. But this is a bold move by the Blues. What I liked is that Doug Armstrong, the St. Louis Blues, had a press release, and it itemized very clearly why they did what they did. And I really like how they laid it out and what the compensation was going to be and why the salaries were as they were to fit a certain compensation formula. Mm-hmm. They did this the right way, but have made it difficult for the Oilers. We'll see how the Oilers are able to squirm out of it.
It's going to be interesting. All right. It is about that time that we are going to take our first break here on the Canadiens Connection podcast. Nathan and Michael are very patiently waiting to enter the studio because they have got some Habs heroes of the last 2 decades to talk about, and it's going to be a very fun segment coming up. But first, we want to hear from our sponsors over at DraftKings. So we are going to take a quick break, hear about an incentive just for you, our Canadiens Connection followers and listeners and viewers, and then we will be back with that big topic segment. So stay with us. This is the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
Know the beautiful thing about being a sports fan? There's only like 2 days the whole year without a game. 2! With so much happening and so much action, that makes just about every day game day at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It really couldn't be any easier or any simpler. I know for me, during the summer months, my bets are getting placed on Formula One races. And if you are new to DraftKings, you've got to check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. See terms and responsible gaming resources at dkng.co/base.
Welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio. Once again, my name is Amy Johnson. If you're looking to follow me on Twitter/X, you can certainly do so at Flyers Rule. And of course, with me in the studio is our president and founder of Rocket Sports, Rick Stevens. Be sure you're following him at Rocket Sports on Twitter or X, whatever you like to call it these days. And you can also follow this show at Habs Connection on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Visit our website at canadiensconnection.fm. And don't forget, no matter what method you're listening to or watching this podcast right now, YouTube or your favorite podcast app, just take a moment, make sure that you've hit the subscribe button. We're here every single Saturday throughout the year, and we don't ever want you to miss an episode because, as you know, or maybe you're just finding it out for the first time today, we jam-pack every episode with tons of Montreal Canadiens news, opinions, analysis. We don't want you to miss any of it, so hit that subscribe button. All right, so you'll remember a few episodes ago, Nathan and Michael had put together a list of the top 5 villains to play against the Montreal Canadiens over the past 20 years. It was a very popular segment. We had lots of response for it, which was great. And so this week, the two of them are back, but this time they're going to highlight the top 5 Montreal Canadiens heroes over the past 2 decades and start calling up all those good feeling memories about the Canadiens before we head into a new season. So Michael and Nathan, let's send it over to you.
Thank you, and we'll welcome Nathan into the studio. How's it going today, Nathan?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for asking, Michael. How's it going for you?
Pretty good. And for those that don't know, Nathan has been on the Canadiens Connection podcast a few times before. I've also done plenty of live stream watch-alongs with Nathan, so you should be pretty familiar with the beautiful voice that comes out of Nathan there. And with that, it's going to be a fun Big Topic segment here as we are doing top 5 heroes for the Montreal Canadiens since the year 2000. So we'll do this in the form of a draft. We're going to be drafting our own teams of heroes, and the goal here is by the end we want to see who ends up drafting the better team of Habs Heroes. You heard me mention since the year 2000, there's simply too much Montreal Canadiens organizational history to be able to do a full heroes from the Habs all time. Just doesn't work out, and I think having it cut off at the year 2000, it's more recent. You'll remember some specific moments, and that's what this whole thing is about. We want to trigger some good memories and remember some of the Habs' more recent greats here. Nathan, you and I did a coin flip during the intermission, little break there. I won this time, so I'm going to get the first pick, and then from there we'll just go back and forth, 5 picks each, and if we have any honorable mentions at the end, we'll see. So those listening at home or wherever you are, feel free to play along with us. Let us know who you would pick, and we'd like to hear from you. The text line, if you have anything to say along the way here, is 5853-ROCKET. That's 5853-ROCKET. And Nathan, did I miss anything along the way?
No, I think we're ready to hear about this, who our picks are for the draft. I'm excited for this one.
Perfect. So I'll also mention too, it doesn't have to be a player. It could be just any person in the Habs organization since the year 2000. And with that, the first pick is underway. And in my eyes, this is probably the easiest pick on the board here. Carey Price is my first overall selection, the winningest goalie in Habs history, 361 wins, a Hart Trophy winner, a Vezina winner, Ted Lindsay Award, Jennings Award, Masterton winner, not to mention how he sacrificed his body on the most recent Habs playoff run to the Cup final, leading to long-term injuries. He came back even after being out for almost an entire season, and now he's pretty well finished his career, and one of the best Habs goalies in history, if not the best, so I'm very happy to select Carey Price.
That is probably one of the best picks out there. I gotta admit, I did have him on my list. So I mean, great minds think alike, great. But honestly, Carey Price is honestly one of the top players for Montreal, and I'm super excited to have him on. At least on your list.
Yeah, exactly. So off to a good start here, and in the first round, second overall pick, Nathan, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring us back to May 6th of 2014, and I'm drafting PK Subban. Ooh. So back in that game of May 6th, 2014, PK Subban found himself in the penalty box in the first period. This was a Game 3 of a best-of-7 series, and the series was tied at 1-1. PK then gets out of the box, finds himself all alone on a breakaway against Tuukka Rask, and scores his 3rd goal of the postseason and his 11th point to the playoffs. That goal ended up being the game winner of that game.
So, awesome pick with PK Subban. I think a little bit underrated. A Norris Trophy winner as well. And actually, funny stat about PK, second most playoff points by a Habs since the year 2000. So, a bit of an underrated pick there. So, good start with PK Subban. I know he's a guy with a lot of fans and a lot of non-fans, but I certainly like PK and appreciate him going second overall. Now, off to round 2. With my second overall pick, There's someone on the board here that I'm actually very happy and a little bit surprised is still on the board. I'm going with one Zaku Koivu, 10th in all-time Habs scoring. That's 641 points, captain of 10 years, and not to mention he even beat cancer as a Hab. So I am very proud to select Zaku Koivu with my second pick.
Again, another great pick, and another pick I had on my list of greats. So I mean, again, he's been very, very good player for the Montreal Canadiens, and I think he's a really good pick for your team.
So hope you're not too jealous so far. Second round, you get the 4th overall pick, and who would you like to select?
Well, I'm going to bring us back to a time in 2009 and 2010 for Jaroslav Halak. His performance that year was amazing, and it was that year where there was that debate for Carey Price or Jaroslav Halak to be the starting goaltender. But during that year, Halak beat out Carey Price in the Stanley Cup playoffs, going 9-9 with a 2.5 goals against average and a .923 save percentage, and averaging 31 saves per game over that stretch in the playoffs. The one standout game was when he played against Washington and had a 53 save 4-1 win performance, which was very great to see, and they ended up winning that round as well. So Jaroslav Halak is my 4th round pick.
Yeah, actually, Halak is someone that I forget how good he was as a Hab in his career overall, and I am ashamed, well, I guess unashamed but ashamed to admit that I was actually Halak over Carey Price for the longest time. And yeah, great playoff run. I think that Halak actually had more playoff success than Carey Price pretty early on in his career. So nice 4th overall pick. And off to round 3 here. Lots of great players still on the board, and I'm going to have to go with another player kind of from those early 2000s. You know, you talk about where the Habs are at and have been for the past little while with a little bit of a lack in scoring. So I'm going with a pure goal scorer, Alex Kovalev. He had the highest scoring season of a Hab since the year 2000, 84-point season in 2007, 2008. Also the most power play points in a season since the year 2000, that exact same year. Yeah, absolutely unreal Hab. Great goal scorer, great veteran that was around for a long time. Good in the shootout too. Can say so many great things about Alex Kovalev. So happy to have him in the 3rd round.
Another great pick from the early 2000s. I really like that pick as well. Kovalev's actually one of my favorite Montreal Canadiens players all time. So a little jealous he's on your list, to be honest.
And well, you have your chance at revenge. And with the 6th overall, Nathan, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I'm going to bring it back to a more recent time, back to 2021, the Stanley Cup playoffs, where we all know Montreal fell down to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-1 in the best of 7 series, and honestly, Montreal was able to storm back and forth in Game 7. That being said, I wanted to point out that Corey Perry scored the game-winning goal of that Game 7, 3-1. He ended up scoring that second goal in that game to ended up winning the game for Montreal and helped them move on to the second round of the playoffs.
Wow, that is actually a pretty good under the radar pick once again. I forgot that he was the one that scored that goal. Very brief stint as a Hab, but of course his impact was felt as Montreal went all the way to the Cup final that year. So great pick there with Corey Perry. As we're a few rounds into this, just a quick little recap just to see where we're at. So far, I have Carey Price, Zaku Koivu, and Alex Kovalev. And Nathan, what are your 3 picks so far?
So far, I've got PK Subban, Jaroslav Halak, and Corey Perry.
Are you happy with how things have gone here? Any regrets?
No regrets. I really like my picks, even though I did miss out on Kovalev. But I mean, it's been going so far good.
Awesome. So off to the 4th round here. I'll take that first selection in the 4th round, and I think a longtime teammate of Kovalev, also played with Koivu. I'm going to go with Markov. 990 games as a Hab, 572 points. Second most for a Habs defenseman all time, so hard for me not to pick Markov. A great guy on the power play, a little bit underrated around the league. Very happy and a little bit surprised he's still available at this point, so I'm very happy to take one Markov.
Again, that's another good pick. He was such a great player for the Habs, being able to do what he did on the defense and just really stood out for the Canadiens. So I'm really happy to hear that he was picked. But for my pick, I'm going to go with Michael Camilleri in 2010 playoffs. This player had the best season in the playoffs, helping the Canadiens get to the conference final with 13 goals and 6 assists in 19 games. That was a point per game in the playoffs, which is great to see. And some of us are still talking about it today.
Yeah, a great pick there, too. I like how a lot of your picks are based off of those heroic moments. I feel like so far I've been going over with career accomplishments, but I do like your interpretation there and going for those very heroic moments. It brings me back to those specific memories, so I appreciate those picks from you, Nathan.
I love it. I love going back to those memories because it brings out those good vibes.
Yeah, exactly. I remember with Michael Camilleri too. He was just such a highly touted guy. Maybe didn't play as long as I expected him to, but nonetheless, a pretty good Hab while he was here, and a nice addition to your team. And with that, on to the final round. I'm going to say that I don't want to trade anyone that I have, so you're not going to get anyone off of my team at the moment. And it's going to be a very difficult pick with my last pick here. There are a couple players I could go for, and I think I'm going to have to go with Max Pacioretty. He had 2 seasons in which they are the 2 seasons where a Habs scored the most goals. He had a 37-goal season in 2014-15. He had a 35-goal season in 2016-17. That's 1 and 2 in terms of the highest amount of goals scored by a Hab since the year 2000. He was also a captain of the Montreal Canadiens, and so many great moments with Max Pacioretty, even coming back after that devastating injury from the hit from Chara that we all remember. And very happy to get one Max Pacioretty in the 3rd round here, and very happy that I was able to get so many goal scorers here too.
Yeah, honestly, 2014, another great career year for another player. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
So no, that's honestly another great pick. Pacioretty did a lot for the Montreal Canadiens, and like you said, he had those 2 great seasons of scoring goals. So very good pick on your end, Michael.
And with your final pick, the final pick in the draft here for the Habs Heroes since the year 2000, and who would you like to select?
I still have a couple names on my board here, but if I had to pick, I'm going to have to go with one Michael Ryder. And I'm going to bring us back to a time where in February of 2008, remember when the Montreal Canadiens were down 6-1 to the New York Rangers?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Michael Ryder came in that second period, scored 2 goals to get the Montreal Canadiens going, to evidently allow the Montreal Canadiens to go to a shootout and win it a 6-5 game. So that was a huge moment. I think it's the biggest comeback for the Montreal Canadiens since the year 2000. So Michael Ryder is my final pick of the draft.
Oh, Michael Ryder's a nice steal there at the end of the draft. I like that. And great moment in Habs history, of course. Just before we get to announcing what our final teams do look like, do you have any honorable mentions or anyone that you still had on your draft board that you could have drafted, but unfortunately we're all the way at the end?
Yeah, actually, I do have one for sure. It's another more recent time, and I want to bring up Artturi Lehkonen on June 24th, 2021 was the happiest day, not only for Lehkonen, but for the Montreal Canadiens. Lehkonen was able to score the series-clinching goal to send the Canadiens to the Stanley Cup final the first time in 28 years.
Nice.
So he is my honorable mention.
Nice. Great honorable mention there, too. And Lehkonen, of course, one of those guys where, to an extent, the one that got away. He's had a lot of success since leaving the Canadiens as well, and, of course, was a big part of that Cup run. I have a few players on the board that kind of pains me. They're still on the board, but difficult decisions all the way through here. I think a current Hab, Nick Suzuki, probably could have been drafted, but I had a few players ahead of him. Currently, the Habs' second highest scoring season since the year 2000 was 77 points. So that comes behind one Alex Kovalev, who had the 84-point season. He's also, Suzuki being the current captain as well, and had a big role in that Cup run. Shea Weber's another one that I still have available on my list here. Of course, he was a captain for about 5 seasons in Montreal, 30th captain in Habs history, and we all know the story about how he gave his body up to that Cup run, and he's been on long-term injury since then, has not been able to play. Not necessarily the sexiest or highest scoring player, but one that he brought a lot of leadership, and he certainly filled a role, and he practically willed the Montreal Canadiens to the Cup final there. I'll throw out a few just quickly here, but Plekanec was one that got left off. 1,001 games played as a Montreal Canadien. 49 playoff points, most in Habs history since the year 2000. Sheldon Souray, I'll also give an honorable mention to, as well as Brian Gionta, another former captain. So plenty of Habs heroes, and we talk about that lengthy history and how we had to put a cutoff. Even with that cutoff at 2020, 4 years of history, there were just so many players I could have gone with. And with that, Nathan, I'll let you announce your final team.
Okay, so my final team looks like this. It's PK Subban, Yaroslav Halak, Corey Perry, Michael Camilleri, and Michael Ryder.
Nice couple of Michaels on there. And my team, Carey Price, Zaku Koivu, Alex Kovalev, Andrei Markov, and Max Pacioretty. So let us know who you think ended up with the better team here, and if you played along, we'd love to hear from you once again. That Rocket Sports text line is 5853-ROCKET. That's 5853-ROCKET. And Nathan, I noticed too, the only current Hab that got mentioned today was an honorable mention, and I feel like with all the turnaround on the Habs at the moment, there just hasn't really been anyone around long enough for me to want to call them that hero. And of course, being in a rebuild, it's there just wasn't really that heroic moment as of yet anyway, but I'm sure if we revisit this in a few years, there will be some of those names. Maybe Nick Suzuki jumps on that list, and who knows who else might be on there too.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Michael. And yeah, I have a feeling there might be 3 to 5 players on that list if we were to do it a couple years later on from now.
That's exactly it. Well, thank you again. This was fun. Again, something a little bit different for the Canadiens connection, drafting top 5 heroes since the year 2000 for both of us. But this was a lot of fun, and Nathan, looking forward to chatting with you soon.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun, Michael, and looking forward to doing more of this kind of stuff in the future.
Awesome. I'll let you go, and have yourself a great day.
Well, that was great. Thank you to both Michael and Nathan, and hopefully our listeners enjoy that as much or more than the villains. And immediately, so many come to Carey Price. Of course, Carey Price
Yes.
is going to be at the top of that list of heroes in the past 20 years, and Zaku Koivu as well, both of them right up there. Markov, who we mentioned earlier, Shea Weber, Arturi Lehkonen, all kinds of names come to mind. So we definitely want to hear from our listeners who would make their list.
Well, that's what we want to know. Our Canadiens Connection question of the week: who is your biggest Habs hero of the past 20 years? It might be difficult for you to just select one. We're going to ask you to try, But if you need a runner-up or two, that'd be okay too.
Sure.
You can send your response to us via text at the Rocket Sports text line, 5853-ROCKET. Drop it in the comment section on our YouTube channel right underneath this video if that's how you're watching, or send us an @ or a DM on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Just let us know, who is your biggest Habs hero of the past 20 years. All right. Just like we heard from DraftKings earlier in the show, you should know that this podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. And I'm going to take a moment here and just tell you a little more about what they are and a great incentive for our listeners.
You know, one of the things that we really value here at Rocket Sports about our community of listeners and viewers here at the Canadiens Connection and on places like our YouTube channel is how enthusiastic Habs fans are in this community, and that most of the time they really put out their opinions and even offer friendly debate in a polite and respectful way. It's something we really encourage here at Rocket Sports among our fans and followers and listeners and readers and viewers. But, you know, we all know what social media can be like on any platform, and there's always the outliers, right? There's always times where you feel like, well, maybe I don't want to share my opinion because someone else might say something not very nice in return, or maybe that sounds silly, or maybe I want to share my thoughts and opinions, but gee, everyone else on this platform seems to know so much more about hockey than I do, and maybe I would sound silly if I said the things that are on my mind about this particular topic. Listen, we've all been there, and we always want this to be a welcoming place and a safe place for people to express their opinions and be heard and chat with others who just simply love the sport of hockey and the Montreal Canadiens as much as you do. But when you really do need to turn to someone to talk to, therapy can be something that will help you focus on the things you want instead of what others have, and you just want to live your best life, right? Some people might have their own preconceived notions about what therapy is or isn't, but it really should come down to being what works for you that is beneficial to just help you live your best life. And so I'm here today to tell you that if you are thinking about maybe dipping a toe and trying out therapy, why don't you give BetterHelp a try? It's a program that is completely done online. It's designed to be convenient, really flexible, suited to your schedule. And the coolest thing is you're just going to fill out like a brief questionnaire online, and they're going to match you, your personality, and your needs and wants with a licensed therapist. They're going to find the right therapist that will work for you. And you can schedule everything right there online, start talking, even kind of have like a little bit of a trial conversation to see if you feel comfortable with that particular therapist. If you don't, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So, hey, why don't you stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp? Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
Episode 309 of the Canadiens Connection podcast here on Rocket Sports Radio. Don't forget, follow us at Habs Connection on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Visit us anytime on our website, canadiensconnection.fm, and text us anytime. Question, comment, suggestion, feedback, or just answering the Canadiens Connection question of the week. Rocket Sports text line's number is 5853-ROCKET. You can text us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't forget, we are the source that you can trust for your Montreal Canadiens news. We've been doing this for over 15 years as credentialed journalists. You can get all of our Canadiens coverage in one place. That's InsideTheCanadiens.com. Also be sure, if you haven't done so already, we do have a YouTube channel. You can find us, you can find it by going to InsideTheCanadiens.com, or just search at All Habs on YouTube. And this past week, you will have found, of course, last week's episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast, Montreal Canadiens roster predictions, who makes opening night. And typically throughout the year on Tuesdays and then on Thursdays, I will also host 2 shows on that channel. The Rocket Hockey Report comes out on Tuesdays. The Habs Hockey Report comes out on Thursdays. That will likely start happening again a bit more regularly once September rolls around and we get some news happening with the Rocket and the Habs as training camp starts. So I'm looking forward to getting back on YouTube and interacting with all of our viewers there. So be sure you are following and subscribing. Hit the notification bell so that you always know when we release a new video. Also, be sure you're subscribed to this podcast on your favorite podcast app. Go to CanadiansConnection.fm. You can actually go there, listen to our whole archive, but you can also then follow the links to your favorite podcast app to listen to the podcast there and hit subscribe. And Rick, what's the best way? If people want to show their appreciation, they want to tell everyone how great they think Canadians Connection is, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, one of the ways you can leave a 5-star review, especially if you're listening on Apple, or if you just want to say, hey, this is a great podcast, share our podcast, whether it's on X, Facebook, Reddit, any of your socials, just put it out there for your friends and fellow Montreal Canadiens to see.
That's right. A reminder, I know we've said this the last couple of weeks, but it is starting to get to be crunch time. So if you are interested in joining the Rocket sports team, whether you're interested in journalism or helping out with our graphic design or audio production or any of those kinds of things, if you would be interested in working with the Rocket sports team, maybe you are looking for some internship credit, that type of thing. Well, we want to hear from you. Rick, what's the best way for people to reach out if they're interested in being part of the team this coming season?
You can certainly send me a text at 5853-ROCKET, but in this case, it's probably best to send an email. Tell us more about yourself. Send an email to hello@rocketsportsmedia.com.
Excellent. You should do that. I've been a member of the Rocket sports team for 15 years.
Yeah.
Yikes. So must be something good. I've stuck around that long.
And Chris
has been here
around,
for a very,
and
very long
Brian,
time. Brian, yeah, there's lots of us who've been here a long time. So come and join us. Don't forget this week's Canadians Connection question of the week. Who is your biggest Habs hero of the past 20 years? Send us your responses. Maybe there's someone that Michael and Nathan didn't mention who tops your list. We want to hear from you. And of course, last week, the Canadians Connection question of the week was who will be the biggest surprise addition to this season's opening night roster? This came after Rick and Michael had kind of given their roster projections for this coming season for the Montreal Canadiens. I'll start with a response that we got on Twitter from at Montreal Design. And while this wasn't necessarily maybe surprise edition, but he was fully in on saying this guy, Lane Hutson. So Bobby thinks Lane Hutson is going to be on the opening night roster.
And we agree,
Yes.
Bobby. And you heard our roster projections last week. If you haven't, go back and check out that show. On YouTube, Tony L, that's Tony Leger, Tony L 349, he disagreed. I had Evans on the third line. He wants Dvorak on the third line. So that's what Tony L 349 on YouTube says.
On our own Rocket Sports Media team Slack thread, our own Mike Rashel said, "Great job, folks. Love the Beck assignment on wing to be mentored by Devo. I had that in mind all season last year. He's so close to ready. It's fascinating."
So Mike agrees with me with Dvorak on the fourth line. And there was method in the madness, both what Jake Evans has shown last year, but also having Dvorak mentor Owen Beck and assigning him to the wings. So Mike and I agree there. On the Rocket Sports text line, the 5853 Rocket line, Jake Oban, and we enjoy hearing from Jake in Montreal. He says simply that he's looking forward to this week's episode. He goes on to say hello to Amy, Rick, and Michael for me and have a good day. So Nice
Well,
message.
hello back, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to
Thanks,
hear from
Jake. Great to hear from you again.
On Reddit, a member named, I believe it's EC the Lion.
All right.
Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, but says, we really appreciate little unsolicited comments like this, where he says the Canadiens Connection podcast is pretty nifty.
Well, we think you're pretty nifty too.
That's right. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And like we said, we love to hear from all of you, even if it's just to say hello. We'd love to say hello back. So be sure to drop us a message via text or in the comment section on YouTube. Love to hear from you. We'll see what else comes, each and every week. It's always what kind of news will we have before the next episode? And we end up coming up with a litany of things. And so who knows what we'll have for next week's episode, the 310th episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast, which will come out next Saturday, August 24th. Michael Spinella will be back in the host chair for that one. So thank you for having me sub in and keep his chair warm for him this week.
Thank you for being here. Always a great job.
Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the Canadiens Connection on your favorite podcast app. And we just appreciate you being here each and every week. Hockey season is coming right around the corner. Training camp, it will be here before you know it. So stick with us every week. We'll get you prepared for it, and we'll be along with you on the roller coaster ride that I'm sure will be the upcoming season. Thank you so much for listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio.
Click subscribe so you never miss an episode of Canadiens Connection. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Rocket Sports.